Namaste. Dear students, welcome to today's lesson on the features of Indian Constitution. Before I discuss what are the features of Indian Constitution, it would be appropriate to talk to you people about the rule of the British in India. As all of you are aware, Britishers ruled India for several decades. Indians were really fed up with authoritarian rule of Britishers. Indians wanted freedom from the clutches of Britishers. The freedom fighters, with the help of Mahatma Gandhi ji and his followers, started fighting against Britishers in a non-violent way. You all know Quit India movement and so many other things. So that India becomes a democratic country. Indians wanted democracy as their life and breath, so that this type of authoritarianism by the Britishers will be no more. In the year 1946, nearly 284 persons became the members of the then Constituent Assembly. They started working 24/7, day in and day out, and they had lot of problems while framing the Constitution. Partition of India and its problems, language, culture. See, India is a diverse country. Diversity is the hallmark of India. Diversity is not weakness. Diversity is a strength. You all should understand, children. Just because diversity is there, that does not mean we are weak. No. Diversity adds to the dimension of strength. So, they struggled under the leadership of most respected person, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, as all of you are aware, he is the father of the Indian Constitution. He has struggled a lot to write the Constitution along with his team. Students, you should understand, what do you mean by team? I have my own way of telling. TEAM, together everybody accomplishes more. Let me repeat, together everybody accomplishes more. Accomplishes means completes. So, under the leadership of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And now, let me throw some light on what are the features of Indian Constitution. See, Indian Constitution is also known as Bharatiya Samvidhana. It is the highest law of the land, law of the country. It contains frameworks consisting of so many things like power, how political parties can use their power, fundamental rights, and so many rules, regulations, everything is included in our Indian Constitution. I must congratulate and appreciate Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and his team for dedicating such a wonderful constitution in a written form to India. Everyone appreciates Indian Constitution. And you all know Indian Constitution came into force on 26th January 1950. Now, let me take up different features one by one. Number one, federalism. Children, India is a federal republic. What do you mean by federalism? Federalism refers to the existence of more than one level of government. In India, we have three levels of government. One at the union level, second at the state level, and the third one is known as local government. Local government is also called as Panchayati Raj. Under Panchayati Raj, we have what is known as rural as well as urban. When I say rural, it refers to district panchayat, village panchayat. At the urban level, it refers to municipal council or municipality or municipal bodies. Children, how many local governments are there in India? According to 2017 statistics, there are 2,67,428 local government bodies in India, out of which 2,62,771 comes under rural, remaining 4,657 comes under urban. Children, what is the role of local governments in India? You know, local government authorities are nothing but multi-purpose bodies responsible for providing services to the people like roads, traffic, recreation, planning, housing, community development programs, and fire services, including the maintenance of electoral list and so on and so forth. See, why we need local government? See, everything, every decision cannot be taken at Delhi. Local governments are equally responsible and they have to look after the local needs. For that purpose only, we have local governments. So, that way our federal system is really an excellent system where the local governments takes care of the local needs. Indian Constitution, I should say, the best, the way it has been thought, the way it has been executed, the way it has been presented. So, this is called federalism. Now, let me come to the second feature of Indian Constitution. Children, let me talk to you about parliamentary form of government. In democratic system of government, it can be divided into parliamentary and presidential, depending upon the relationship between executive and the legislature. In parliamentary form of government, the executive has a very good understanding with the legislature, and also the executive not only follow the rules and regulations, but also it frames the rules and regulations. That is the beauty of parliamentary type or form of government. Children, the head of the state as far as parliamentary form of government in India is the President of India. But the President is only a ceremonial head. You can also address him as a titular head for the name's sake. But the real head is the Prime Minister of the country. The real executive head is the Prime Minister. In the parliamentary form of government in India, the head of the government is Prime Minister. All the executive powers will be vested with the Prime Minister. The parliamentary form of government in India is also known as cabinet government, for the simple reason all the executive powers will be within the cabinet. Children, Article 74, 75 of the Constitution deals with parliamentary type of government at the center. Article 163, 164 deals with parliamentary type of government at the state level. For your information, Article 75 makes the President of India to appoint the Prime Minister, and also at the advice of the Prime Minister, cabinet ministers and others will be appointed. Article 74, what it tells? It makes Prime Minister and his cabinet colleagues, they can advise the President of India about his functions. Coming to Article 163, 164, the Governor appoints the Chief Minister, and other ministers will also be appointed by the Governor on the advice of the Chief Minister. So, this is the beauty of parliamentary form of government in India. So many other countries also, for example, Great Britain, Japan, so many other countries have also this type of parliamentary form of government. You all know, children, in India, universal adult franchise is there in practice. The persons, boy or girl, 18 and 18 plus, they have the complete right to go to voting booth and they can exercise their power. The third important feature of Indian Constitution is separation of powers. At the state level, there are three organs. What are they? Let me explain to you. Children, one of the important organs of the government is legislature. What is legislature? Legislature is a deliberative assembly. What is the meaning of deliberative? It means the assembly will be always vigilant and takes the right decision. That is the reason why the legislature play a prominent role in our democratic form of government. Say for example, Parliament is an example for legislature. In Parliament, we have Lok Sabha, that is House of People, and we have Rajya Sabha, that is Council of States. Similarly, at the state legislature, we have what is known as Vidhana Sabha, Vidhana Parishad. Vidhana Sabha refers to lower house and Vidhana Sabha refers to upper house. So, with the help of these, the legislators take appropriate actions, thereby democracy functions in a meaningful way. Number 2, executive. Number 3, judiciary. Now, what is this legislature? Who elects the legislators? Indian people who have the age of 18, that is universal adult franchise, they will be electing the legislators at the state level. So, what is the role of the legislators? They have a high responsibility. People have confidence in them, and that is how the first organ of the state is legislature. The second one is executive. You know, the legislators, elected legislators, they will going to select their executive. The meaning of executive is chief minister and other ministers. Who will elect them? Legislators will elect them. And it is their responsibility to run the government in a democratic way, in a progressive way, in a meaningful way, and they must bring justice to all. No one should be discriminated. All must be given equal treatment. So, the executive will have to function in a very meaningful way. So, the first one is legislators, second one is executive, and the third one is judiciary. Judiciary means it related to court of laws. If any legislator or executive were to commit any mistakes, judiciary will come to rescue. So, the constitution has given such a safeguard, you see. So, judiciary acts as a check and balance as far as the power to be exercised by the executive and also the legislators. So, these are the three organs of the state, and there must be good understanding between legislators, executive and the judiciary, and judiciary has all powers to stop the things that are going against the state or the country. That is how judiciary acts as a powerful organ of the state. Dear children, now I am going to talk to you about fundamental rights. What are fundamental rights? Constitution of India guarantees the 6 fundamental rights, which I am going to explain to you one by one, to every citizen in the country. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the father of Indian Constitution, he said in a meaningful way, all citizens must claim their rights. What a valid statement he has made. All citizens must claim their rights, and also the concerned government must protect the rights of every citizen. Thanks to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, something very meaningful, something very great what he has said. Now, let me take up one by one what are the fundamental rights. Number 1, right to equality. What does that mean? What is the meaning of right to equality? All persons are equal before the law of the country. This means all persons are protected by the law of the country. No person can be discriminated on the basis of religion, caste, sex, place of birth. There is no discrimination, and all persons have access to different places like a playground, cinema hall, malls, hotels, public places, everywhere. They can freely go. And then state cannot discriminate anybody as far as employment opportunities are concerned. And now the concept of untouchability has been completely abolished. These are some of the meaning related to right to equality. It is a wonderful thing in my opinion, yes. You can go to any place, you are protected by the law of the country and no discrimination. So, these are all a kind of safeguards given by our constitution. The second fundamental right is right to freedom. It means you have every right to express yourself, you have freedom of expression, freedom to move anywhere in the country, you can reside anywhere you like in the country, practice any profession of your choice, and you can form associations freely without anybody's interference. That way, right to freedom is indeed a boon given by the constitution to all of us. The third important fundamental right is right against exploitation. See, our constitution does not encourage any type of exploitation in the country. It is against human trafficking. What is the meaning of human trafficking? I will tell you in a beautiful way. In our borders, buying and selling certain items are completely banned, and also girls, women, children should not be exploited by anybody in any form. And you all know, children, boy or girl, who are less than 14 years are not supposed to be employed and exploited. This is a safeguard given by the constitution. So, there is no question of exploitation. For example, no dominant group can exploit the weaker sections. It can be a serious mistake if they do that, and court will punish them, such persons. So, no question of exploitation. Exploitation is anti-democratic and also anti-Indian. We must stop exploitation of any kind. This you will have to understand, children. The fourth fundamental right is right to freedom of religion. See, our Indian constitution guarantees complete freedom to Indians to follow any religion of their choice. Religion is purely an individual. It is up to the persons to adopt any religion of their choice. In our constitution, Article 25, 26, 27, 28 deals with right to religious freedom. Cultural and educational rights is the fifth type of fundamental right. The constitution gives the freedom to the minorities, linguistic groups to start their own educational institutions to promote their culture and also education. So, this has been another boon given by our constitution, so that minorities feel safe in our country. The sixth fundamental right is right to constitutional remedies. What does that mean? See, this is a very important fundamental right in my opinion. Suppose if you feel your rights have been taken away by some persons or groups, then you have got every right to move to the court, go to the court and get justice. So, nobody can take away your fundamental rights, any of the fundamental rights. If there is any such thing, you have got full freedom to go to court and get the justice. So, these are the 6 important fundamental rights guaranteed by our Indian constitution. In addition to fundamental rights, constitution has given what is called directive principles of the state policy are enshrined in part 4th of the Indian constitution. Directive principles it clearly indicates, it gives a direction to the state to take care of the welfare of the people and also the safeguard of the people, how to remove the poverty from the state. Like this, directive principles helps in terms of providing guidelines for the state to bring in social justice and also welfare of the people. The state, while framing the policy and programs, will have to keep in mind socialistic, Gandhian and liberal intellectual principles. That completes what is known as the directive principles of state policy. Children, let us try to understand what is the difference between directive principles and fundamental rights. You see, fundamental rights can be enforceable in the court of law. It is justifiable, but directive principles cannot go to court, it cannot be justifiable. So, that way fundamental rights guarantees political rights, but directive principles provides social justice and economic justice. This is the difference between fundamental rights and what is known as directive principles. And then there is a mention about secularism. There is a separate chapter on secularism, but here I will just mention secularism is one where all religions are respected, equal. All religions are given importance in our country. There is no question of any one religion superior over the other, no. All religions are one and the same. That is the beauty of Indian Constitution. It guarantees so many freedoms, including the secularism, where you can practice any religion of your choice and all religions are one and the same. Only in theocratic countries there will be one official religion, but in secular country there is no official religion, all religions are equally important. Dear students, let us summarize what all we have learnt today in this class. I spoke to you in the beginning of the class how Britishers ruled India for several decades and how Indians were fed up with authoritarian rule of the Britishers, and how 284 members in 1946 they were able to come under Constituent Assembly. During 1946, as many as 284 members became the members of Constituent Assembly, and they were able to prepare the Indian Constitution under the leadership of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. It was a Herculean task for them to prepare the Constitution, because they had several problems, like problems that has come out of the partition of India, so many languages, so many cultural things, so on and so forth, but they were able to give a very meaningful constitution to our country. And you were able to understand today in this class the concept of federalism, separation of powers, different organs of the government, and then fundamental rights. Under fundamental rights, you are able to understand right to equality, right to freedom, right against the exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and right to constitutional remedies. These are the things we were able to discuss and understand in today's class. Children, I will give you certain activities which are thought provoking. Understand the questions and then try to answer. This is a kind of homework. Children, the first question is, why does a democratic country need a constitution? The second question is, what is the purpose of local governments in India? The third question is, what are fundamental duties? Explain in your own words. What is federalism? What are the 3 levels of federalism? Explain giving certain examples. What do you understand by separation of powers? Explain the different organs of the government with examples. What do you understand by directive principles of the state policy and how it differs from the fundamental rights? Which fundamental rights will the following situations violate? If a 12-year-old boy works in a factory manufacturing carpets, the second situation is, if a politician is not allowing laborers from other states to work in his own state. Thank you.